Right. Does everyone see my slide on the screen?
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay right now. But at the beginning, I'd like to invite Miss An. Hi, Miss An. Where are you now?
Good morning, our presenter and the participants. Welcome to the virtual VIETNAMESE International Convention 2021. On the behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to thank you so much for your participation and contribution to our annual convention success. And thank you for making this convention happen. My name is Nguyễn Đức Anh from Tây Bắc University, and joining with me today is Ms. Đặng Thị Nguyên from Vinh University as a moderator. We are delighted to see all of you virtually today, especially in this presentation, and we do hope that all of you will be able to have some valuable knowledge and experience as takeaways following the presentation. We wish you all a very productive, interesting, and fun day. We are glad to welcome Ms. Phan Trang in her presentation entitled Teachers and Students' Perceptions of Assessment for Learning Practices in the Vietnamese EFL Context. Phan Thị Thùy Trang has been working at Văn Lang University since 2019 as a lecturer of the Faculty of Foreign Languages. She obtained a bachelor's degree in English from Vinh University in 2014 and a master's degree in TESOL from the University of Huddersfield in England in 2018. She is interested in testing and assessment, and they remain as her key research areas. Now welcome all of you to her presentation. Please welcome. So please welcome Ms. Phan Trang.
Hi. Yeah. So I would like to share my slide first. Right, can you see the slide on the screen? Right, thank you very much. Right, hello everyone. My name is Phan Thị Thùy Trang, and currently I'm working as English lecturer at Văn Lang University in Ho Chi Minh City. And I have been teaching English for nearly 3 years. And today this is my honor to present my research name, Teacher and Student Perceptions of Assessment for Learning Practices in the Vietnamese EFL context. I will begin by outlining my presentations with the 4 main parts. First part is about the introductions. Second part is method. Third part is findings and discussion, and the last one is conclusion. Right. So for the first part, introduction, I would like to mention about the research background and the statement of problems in the reality today, and about the research question. So as you also know that in 21st century, assessment for learning is occupy a crucial role to education process. Assessment for learning refer all activity undertaken by both teacher and student that provide information and the information and the feedback to modify teaching and learning process. Assessment for learning have many advantages. For example, engaging students with their learning process, or identifying student learning demands and their strengths and weaknesses. It also raised the level of student achievement in the end of learning process. Assessment for learning have 4 main strategies. The first one is questioning, second one is feedback, first one is self-assessment, and the last one is peer assessment. However, today, when a teacher put the assessment for learning into practice, they have some problems. The first one, the degree of assessment for learning success remains ambiguous. That means the degree of success varies differently in different contexts. And secondly, teacher and student perceptions of assessment for learning practice have not been dealt with in depth, especially in the Vietnamese EFL context. Therefore, this study is aimed to answer the research question: what are the EFL student and teachers' perceptions of assessment for learning practices in the Vietnamese context? Yeah. Right. So let's move on and discuss about the method of study. Regarding the participant in this study, there are 4 teachers and 8 students at the English faculty of a university in Vietnam. The student participant consists of 5 females and 3 males. They are from different classes with different level. They also confirm that they have experienced assessment for learning in their classes. In here, I write AFL. This is the abbreviation of assessment for learning. And the teacher participant comprise 2 males and 2 females. They have at least 5 years experience in teaching English. They also identify that they have familiarity with assessment for learning activities. Concerning the data collection, so qualitative approach is employed to gain an in-depth understanding of the issues. And the semi-structured interview through Skype and audio call are conducted to collect information from teacher and student. So I would like to introduce my teacher interview questions and student interview questions. I designed with 8 questions for the teacher and 8 questions for the student participants. And here you can see most of the questions focus on like the experience of the teacher and student when they experience assessment for learning in their class. With teachers, I asked them some questions about the method they use, the way they applied the strategies of assessment for learning. For example, about questionings, how they adopt questioning in their class, and it's about the way they give the oral or written feedback, or like organize peer assessment and self-assessment in their classes. Yeah. And with their student interview questions, I asked them about how they feel and what they think about assessment for learning strategies when they are adopted by their teacher. And I also asked them some recommendation that they want their teacher to do to have them study better in the future. So now let me move into some details about data analysis. So as I have mentioned, we have 8 questions for student and 8 questions for the teacher. And so all the data was collected and transcribed to find the main themes. And with the raw data, they were categorized in 4 main parts. The first part is about questioning. So I just summarize some main ideas in here. Most students and teachers agree that questioning was adopted to stimulate student thinking. Open question was more popular than closed question in their classes. In here, we can understand that closed question just offers students to answer yes or no, but open question request students to provide more information to express how they feel and what they understand about these subjects. And in this study, we found that the questioning strategy of assessment for learning did not always happen in their classes. And the students said that the senior teacher used it less than the others. About teacher feedback, teachers and student participants perceived that oral feedback was more popular than written feedback because of limited class time. And feedback was the one-way process. In here, we need to emphasize that the teacher and the student in those classes, they rarely discuss after getting feedback. One of the main reasons for that is the style of student. They are affected a lot by the traditional classroom when they was in the primary school and secondary school. And the passivities of students also affected a lot about the way they respond to a teacher. And most students expressed that feedback were very helpful to their learning, especially the detailed feedback. About peer assessment, teachers perceive that they use more peer assessment than other strategies. And teachers believe that students like peer assessment, while their students have mixed feeling about it due to the low degree of reliability and accuracy. Some students emphasize that when they participated in peer assessment, because they didn't want their friend to lose the face, so they inflated the low score. And with some other situation, some students with low ability, they were not able to evaluate well-performed students. About self-assessment, teachers use self-assessment as an option rather than a compulsion in their classes. That means in here, teachers just sometimes use self-assessment in their classes. And students in this study still doubt about the effectiveness of self-assessment. In the end of the interviews, I also asked one more question. I asked the teacher and the student to put the strategies of assessment for learning on the Likert scale. And number 1, very important. Number 2, important. Number 3, slightly important. And number 4, not important. So the teacher responded that they put the questioning as the most effective strategy of assessment for learning, while feedback was the least effective strategy of assessment for learning. About the student perspective, when I also asked them the same question, so most of the students in here, they confirmed that feedback was the most effective one, the most useful strategies of assessment for learning, while self-assessment was the least reliable one. So now let's move to the findings and discussion. So as indicated previously in the introduction, this study set out to determine the teacher and student views on the practices of IFL. So you can see it like, although teacher and student, they agree on substantial benefits of assessment for learning, there are still conflict between teacher and student views on the practices of assessment for learning. In here, the most striking result emerged from the data is that the teacher chose questionings as the best way to find student levels and support students in understanding the lesson, while the student emphasize they prefer teacher feedback. The second findings is that most teachers indicated self-assessment as the second effective strategy of assessment, while the majority of students declared that self-assessment was the least reliable strategy. In conclusion, regarding implications and recommendation of the study, so this study provides teachers, educators, and researchers with a multidimensional views on assessment for learning practice. And this study also emphasized the need for teachers to reflect on their work and also get student feedback after class as the practical measure to avoid increasing the quality of assessment activities. My research clearly have some limitations. The first limitation is that it just carry out with the small sample size, with the participations of each student and 4 teachers only, so it cannot cover the large scale study. And another limitation is that the student in this study, they have the different levels. It is expected to have students with the same proficiency. So in the end of the study, the presentations, I would like to introduce the some appendix. In here we have appendix C. mentions about the background information of interview teachers. So you can see we have 4 main participants, and two of them obtain PhD, and 2 other obtain master degree, and they also have like different background, also like difference about their teaching experience as well. And the background information of interview student, we can see in here we have 8 students, and they also they are consisted of 5 females and 3 males, and they are freshmen, sophomore, junior student, and senior student. Yeah. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any question, you can ask me directly, or you can find me at my email.
Well, we would like to share our big thanks to for your great presentation. And Ms. Trang, we all really enjoyed the presentation and find it something useful. And thank you very much for the sharing.
Right. Thank you.
And thank you all the participants for being very attentive in the presentation. Now we are happy to receive any question and that you may have for our presenter. If you have the question, you can raise your hands, and our technical supporters can unmute your microphone. But here, I see in the chat box, there's some question for you. From Mr. Phan, he said that peer assessment needs to be trained without proper training and step-by-step instruction. It's likely that students could perform half-full peer assessment. So how do you think about this, Ms. Phan Trang?
Sorry, I cannot find the questions of so are you mentioning about the question of Mr. Phan Việt Đức or Mr. Đức Võ?
It's not the question. It's not the question. It's just an idea. His idea about the peer assessment.
Okay, right.
Okay. So we have a questions from maybe Mr. Võ Đức. I would like to know whether learning styles are considered to be an influencing factor in your research.
Right. So in here, I just focus on the experience and the feeling of the student take part in this research. Learning style also, I also find out some interesting thing about learning style. And in here, I have just mentioned about, for example, about the activities of feedback, teacher feedback. So when teacher give student feedback, most of the students do not really like have the intention to respond to the teacher feedback, even though some teachers say that they really want their student, they always ask their student to ask any question if they find the teacher feedback hard for them to understand. But most of the students, they did not respond, and they just like think that the teacher feedback is always correct. So it is explained that it can explain by the learning style of most Vietnamese students today is still affected by the traditional classroom in the past when they experience when they was in the primary school and in the secondary school. Yeah, but learning style were not like the main point that I consider in my research. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for the answer. And another questions from him. Did you give students, or did the student have any pre-experience about peer evaluation? And do they have any rubrics or criteria to evaluate their peer performance?
Yeah, right. Thank you for the question. So in here, once again, I want to emphasize that the study just focus on the view of both teacher and student on like 4 strategies of assessment for learning. I do not only focus on peer evaluation. Therefore, I do not have any like pre-experience or pre-test for them for the student participants. However, I have just completed my another research focused on self-assessment and peer assessment. And they do have some rubric and criteria when they participate into in the peer assessment. So I hope that next time I will bring that research to the conference. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the answer. So any other participant, do you want to ask Ms. Phan Thị Thùy Trang? All right. I think that your presentation is very formative, and if the participant, if you have any questions, you can take directly to our speaker via her email that she shows on the screen. Thank you so much. So thank you, Ms. Phan Thị Thùy Trang, a lot for your presentation. And thank you all our participants for so much for listening and joining the presentation attentively and sending us a very interesting questions. And on the behalf of the VIC 2021, we wish you all the best with a very productive day and meaningful rest of our virtual convention. Thank you and wish you all the best and have a good lunch.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you and goodbye.
So one more time, can you take a photo? Anyone? Yeah.
Sure.
Hey, take a shot. Anyone? So can you